Morning, welcome back to the channel. Apologies for the delay and lack of updates. Unfortunately the weather's been bad for about the last month and a half. Here in the UK we've had nothing but solid rain, so that stopped play a little bit. Where I'm at currently, I have obviously test fitted the test engine. I have taken out the fuel tank and the diesel system. I've cleaned it out and drained it fully, and I have put in an electric fuel pump for a V8, and that's about as far as I got. Now I did want to put the fuel lines in before I got the engine in, but to be honest, with the weather I need to sort of make as much progress, large progress as I can. Apologies for that. So yeah, I've put the fuel tank in, and that's about as far as I've gone with it. Last weekend was the first good weekend I've had in about 5 weeks or so. So I dug the engine out of storage, the 4.6 that's going in. I've just had the last hour just giving it a little bit of a clean. So today what I'm going to do, hopefully if all goes to plan, I'm going to take out the mock-up engine, put in the new engine that's actually going in the car, and I'd like to get the exhaust connected up because I've got the back part in. It's all Land Rover equipment, so it'll be nice to try and get that at least in a position to to show you what I'm actually done, because for people doing this conversion, the idea is to show you exactly how I'm doing it, and the bits that you need to buy. Apologies for the background noise, people. I think someone's having a bouncy castle just over the way, so there's a little bit of background noise. So, but anyway, stay tuned, and I'll bring you back when I'm pulling the old engine out and put the new one in. My camera battery is dying. I don't have a charger with me, so you'll have to bear with me, and hopefully it'll last. If not, it'll be a bit of mobile phone footage, which I'm trying not to do this time round. Anyway, I'll bring you back shortly. So, giving the pulleys a quick lick of paint this morning, giving the general bit of a clean up because it's been in storage forever. I've taken the plugs out and done some inspections on the bores. Still turns over nice and freely. So yeah, I'm gonna run with it and put it in. If I need to strip it down and rebuild it, then so be it. Anyway, one of the challenges, obviously, I'm looking to keep the GEMS injection system. So how that works is it takes a crank position. It takes a sensor, a reading of where the crank position is via this little crank position sensor. And how that works is it picks up on those little teeth. You see it behind there? And what the problem I've got is this is a 4.6 flywheel. Not only is it, flex plate, not only is it damaged, which I only realised the other day, but doesn't matter, it's scrap anyway. Not only is it a 4.6 flywheel, which uses a bigger torque converter, it doesn't talk to my gearbox. So my gearbox, I believe, looks to be like a D1 setup or a Range Rover Classic setup. So I had to source this. Now that is an earlier style flex plate and torque converter. So what I've got to do, I can't use this flex plate and ring gear. I've got to use this one because of the pickups on the back of it. But I've also got to use this front end. So this is where the torque converter in the gearbox bolts to. You'll notice there's quite a substantial gap there, as opposed to nothing on this one. So now I've got to play around with it before I put it in to get the distances right from the bell housing mounting place to the back of the drive plate here. So now we've got to have a little play around with this and get the distances right. It needs to be 50mm for my gearbox. And unfortunately, my gearbox hasn't got an identification plate on it. But looking at looking at various pictures of torque converters, it looks to be an early D1 or a Range Rover Classic front end on it. So I'm gonna go getting these lovely bolts out, and I'll play with this distance. I'll bring you back shortly. Sorry, just for reference, this works out to be about 15mm from the front of that. I need 50, so this has all got to step out another 35mm, which this spacer is. So with a bit of luck, this spacer here is 35mm. So with a bit of luck, we should be able to cobble something together. I'll bring you back shortly. So what you got to do is basically you've got to strip this down basically to the crank drive flange. I think that's what it's called. Well, don't know what it's called, but that's what it's doing. So to get to that stage, you take the locking ring off the flex plate. You take the flex plate off. Then on the back of that, there is another locking ring, and that's the locking ring of the main or ring gear, I suppose. One thing I have noticed with this is, for some reason, there is not one bolt in that. So it's not the greatest to start, but still. Yeah. So what I've now got to do is take this off, go back all the way to this section and make that fit that. And the problem is there's a locating dowel on the 4.6 crank, but on the 3.9 or whatever it is, there isn't. There is another slight issue in that the pitch of these holes that locate the flex plate are slightly out, so I think I'm going to have to enlarge those slightly. So it's not a straightforward job, but yeah, I might change that ring gear being as though it's not actually attached and it's in such bad condition. So anyway, let's see how this goes. Apologies guys, I'm not sure how much if you can cause any of that. The camera's batteries run out. So a couple of hours later, we're on. Right, now this hasn't been straightforward whatsoever. So basically I had a Range Rover Classic sort of 3.9, you know, early sort of D1 bell housing, sorry, not bell housing, flex plate, and drive gear, because basically I needed a spacer that mounts in between here. Now ideally I really wanted to just bolt the spacer straight onto the 4.6 and then just, you know, just rebolt this bit. That didn't work for various reasons. Basically it doesn't fit over the collar on this bit on the drive flange. So basically I've had to go all the way back down to the drive flange, which bolts directly to the crank. Now the first thing, when you last saw the video, you'll notice there was a dowel on the end of the crank, which is this there. Notice there's 7 holes. That dowel, I couldn't get it out. I didn't want to apply heat. The rear seal looks in decent condition. I didn't want to apply heat to it. So what I've done there, poorly cut. No, I didn't want to apply heat to it. So I marked at the back of the 3.9 drive plate, lined it up square, give it a tap. That gave me a nice indent, and I've then just drilled it out very carefully. So that means I could then fit the drive plate directly to the back of the crank. Job's a good one. And then after that, I needed to then move on to fitting the flywheel. The next issue I faced is, if you look straight down there, I don't know whether you can see that, but the hole centers are off. So I've had to basically clearance the flex plate from the 4.6, clearance that flex plate, which I haven't done a particularly good job because I'm not really happy with this flex plate now. I've got it off and I'd look at it. So I had to clearance that, then I had to polish all the spigot adapters because there was a little bit of corrosion and they're very tough, and I managed to just loosely assemble that. So where we're at currently is it's all assembled, only dry fixed. Obviously you can see there's bolts missing all over the place because I'm not particularly happy with this. I think I've got a spare one. So what I'm going to do is obviously disassemble this. It's not going in today. The biggest issue so far though is, if you can see where the torque converter mounts, and you can see the access holes in the plate, they're at 45 degrees, so it's basically 90 degrees out. If you look at the original 3.9, the axle holes are at 45 degrees, whereas on the 4.6 the mounting lugs are in line with the access points. That's not going to be an issue on my car because the bell housing, obviously this had the 606 on the back of it, and the bell housing's been clearanced, so I can actually get up the inside of this anyway to attach it. So that won't be an issue on my car, but it may be if you do that on your car. To be honest, it may be easier if you're looking at doing this conversion. You're getting a 3.9. If it is you're doing this conversion, obviously I think I've got a D1 gearbox. Well, it's a D1 D2 hybrid. And obviously got a 4.6 engine, and I'm trying to reuse the pickup points on this flex plate. So basically that's why I'm going through this issue. But because my engine, my bell housing's already been clearanced, because I already had this mounting face and I needed to match back up to it, I can actually get to these because the bell housing's been relieved. I'll show that in another video. So I'm going to wrap it up today now for this video, I think, because like I said, I'm really not happy with this. I've had to clearance it, which I've had to do on the fly just to check tolerances. It's in a particularly bad condition. I don't know whether you'll see through the video. There's the ring gear's been, the pickup teeth have been tacked on at some point, or tacked together, and there's no bolts holding the ring gear to the flex plate. So this has had some issue before, this engine, which the only thing I can think of is when it was changed in the Range Rover P38 it came out of. It wasn't done particularly well. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to call it a day for today, guys. I'm going to get this mounted back up onto the stand, which you're leaning on, and I'm going to put it away. I'm not going to bother trying to put this in the engine bay today because I need to decide what I'm doing with this, because it's just not good enough. Well, thanks for watching, and yeah, hopefully I'll try and get some actual progress next time. Morning, welcome back. So I did finish an ending to this video yesterday, but I've decided to carry on because it's early morning and I've still not finished. So I just dug out my spare flex plate, so I'm just about to clock this so I can notice. What I didn't go through yesterday was I marked up all the different crank positions, so it's now just a case of going through and transferring those marks over. So there we go. What I'm going to do now, my much better condition flex plate, as you can see, is in a lot better condition. I'm going to transfer this over to the better condition ring gear. So this one I wasn't happy with. It's been welded. It must have snapped at some point. That's been welded. It was missing all those, and to be honest, it's a bit chewed up. Whereas this one, which come on the spare engine that was stripped before I got it, is much better condition. And the problem is missing a ring gear. So I'm going to enlarge these holes like I've done there badly with a proper cutter this time, and transfer that over to the ring gear just there. So I'm going to crack on with that. There's no point in you watching me do that. In fact, no, I'll leave the camera running, you can watch me do that. I don't believe the position of the ring gear to be critical in relation to the flex plate itself. Sorry, I'm talking low because it's quite early in the morning still. So yeah, I'm just going to slacken off these bolts and transfer that over. Right, just pulling this last bolt So I've just tried to check the torque settings for these bolts. Can't find them. I have also just realised I've been calling this a flex plate all along, but this is a starter ring gear assembly. So anyway, right, so that can now be shifted to one side. Gonna give that a quick wipe over. Right then, so this is directional. There is like a ring that goes to the back where your clutch would normally bolt to, or in my case a torque converter. So the front is where the front section is where this position sensor is. So I'm just going to pop these on. There is a couple of locating dowels there and there, which is funny enough all that was holding that one together, so that must have rattled. Like I said, I couldn't find a torque setting for these, but I'm going to go with 45 Newton meters. I'm also going to put a splash. They hadn't got much on them. I'm going to put a splash of thread lock because I don't intend on doing this job over and over again. Again, I'm not going over the top with it, it's just a splash. First two in. You'll notice what I'm trying to do is go around in a star type pattern. Well, I've just done crisscrosses to start it, but next one will be there sort of thing. So just clearance those out as much as I'm prepared to do. As you can see, they're quite large holes. Really not keen on that, but needs must. What I'm going to do now is quickly assemble the rest of it. I'm going to dry assemble it basically. So this is what I was talking about yesterday. I've had to clean up all of the surfaces. So that holds in position like that, and then you've just got the bolts which should go through. Yeah, I'm just going to give these a quick nip up before I put the torque converter in, and I'm not going to bother with any thread lock at this stage, because I just want to check the clearances and the measurements again, because obviously this is a different starter, ring gear, etc. And there's a lot of faffing around doing things twice, but I'm trying to make sure this builds right from the off. That's all pre-assembled, ready to go. All fits okay. Just going to pop a little bit of thread lock on these. Again, I don't think it says anything in the book about thread lock. Just going Can pop a touch on there. Right, apologies for all the noise. Just popped a touch of thread lock on those. And then I'm going to just wind them in. And then I'll torque them. Torque for these apparently is 45 Newton meters. That's everything in place. I'm just going to torque these up to 45. Not sure whether that's the 100% correct setting. I suggest you check it yourselves. 42, 43, 44, 45. Not much on those at all. Which doesn't seem right, but still. Right, just go back over them and double check them. One. So I have pulled the mock-up engine out, and I've just got to install that torque converter in there. I am not going to film it because it's not going to be a nice job, and you're not going to see anything, because the only place I can fit a camera is where I'm standing, and all you'll see is my back struggling and swearing. So I'm going to now get this fitted quickly. Just at the limit of the engine hoist. I could take it down and try and re-sling it, but we'll see. Honestly, biggest stage so far, best piece of footage I've got. I've got someone using a rattle gun and 900 kids in the street. I'll be a YouTuber. Right then, she's is in. That took quite a bit of toing and froing. It's a lot more difficult getting a full engine in, heads in and everything, instead of just a bare block. But no, we're in. It's all bolted to the gearbox. That's all mated up okay. One thing I haven't done is I haven't tightened up the flex plate, drive plate, ring gear as they say. I haven't tightened up the ring gear to the torque converter. That's a flex plate to the torque converter. To be honest, it's Sunday. I'm going to pack up, call it a night. But the main thing is it's in. So there you go. I'll flip the camera around so you can have a look. There we go, all in. All on the engine mounts. Nicely. Both sides. Rather more room than I thought. I thought I was going to struggle with the oil filter, but no, apparently it's okay. So I think I'm going to change his water pump, but again, it's just a case of getting it in there for now. So there we go. I'll just show you quickly the back. As you can see, all bolted up nicely. So plenty of room at the back as well. So got to get these. The next job will be the exhaust. Well, next job will be bolting the flex plate, finishing off the bolts on the bell housing, and then it will be exhaust. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned. Hopefully, if the weather picks up a little bit, it'll be nice actually get some progress on it. But that's not coming out now, that's in for good, so let's hope everything's all right. Well, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one.